Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome to the CNBC TV18 special. We continue to decode the fine print of Budget 2018. I'm Chidambaram and joining us today is the former Finance Minister, Mr. Chidambaram. Mr. Chidambaram, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18. Let me start by asking you about what your biggest problem is with the budget. Is it the fact that you feel that there is an underinvestment when it comes, or an underestimation when it comes to expenditure?
Well, that's only one of the concerns. I think they failed the fiscal consolidation test, and that, I'm afraid, will have very serious consequences. They failed, of course, the welfare test. They failed many other tests. They had a good wicket to bat on when they came to bat. There was a momentum behind the economy, even according to their own numbers. 2013-14 was 6.4%, 2014-15 7.5%, 2015-16 8%, now revised to 8.2%, and they blew it. And having blown it, they don't know how to pull back the economy and put it on the rails.
Okay, so you're saying that that this is a budget that is not quite clear about what to do about the problem, how to fix the problem. But let me talk to you about specifics. You said it's failed the fiscal consolidation test. Now, yes, they have slipped. It was meant to be 3.2% for this year. It's 3.5%, 3.3% for next year versus 3%, which was the target. But they've also accepted the NK Singh Committee's report on the new FRBM, which pegs them down to 3% by 2021, as well as a debt target of 40%. Now, the rating agencies we've spoken to seem convinced by the roadmap that the government says it will adhere to. And for now, they're saying, look, there's been GST, there was demonetization, we factored in 3.5%, so we're not overtly concerned.
Less said about the rating agencies, the better. So I think we leave the rating agencies outside. In fact, my question has always been, who will rate the rating agencies? Now let's take the NK Singh Committee report. Who is this government to accept it for a future government? A future government can come and reject the NK Singh Committee report. I don't think there's any value to their quote-unquote accepting the NK Singh Committee report.
But it'll be adopted by Parliament.
Another government can come and amend it. It's irrelevant. Question is, what is your track record in fiscal consolidation? Since you came to power, since the NDA came to power, every year they pushed the goalpost back. And they pushed it again now, some 2022 or something like that. So you have failed the fiscal consolidation test. Worse, instead of 3.2, this year will end with 3.5.
Yes.
That means an additional borrowing of 54,000 crore. Now, pray tell me, where did this 54,000 crore go? Has it gone into public investment? No. Has it gone into more welfare programs? No. Has it gone into stimulating aggregate demand by cutting taxes for the consuming classes? No. Where is this 54,000 crore rupee gone? And add another 37,000 crore, which the ONGC gave them, which should also, according to me, part of the FD. This 91,000 crore rupees has gone into that deep hole which they have created.
Okay, let me move away from fiscal consolidation and talk to you about the welfare test that you now say that they have failed on. Yes, there is little by way of detail at this point on what they intend to do for the MSP, because that is a matter that the Niti Aayog will consult with states, so they haven't provisioned for it yet. On the healthcare scheme, there is a similar problem where there is a budgetary allocation of 2,000 crore.
No, that's not for this scheme.
Oh, no, for the new scheme.
No, not for the new scheme. The new scheme does not even have a line entry.
But there is an allocation of 2,000
Well, that's
crores.
for the current schemes.
No, yes, but they have said that they've made an initial allocation of 2,000 crores for the new scheme that was announced in the budget, and the extra resources that will be required the broad estimation is between 11,000 crores and 12,000 crores according to the Niti Aayog. The Expenditure Secretary, I have to be fair to him, said, I'm not willing to give you an estimate at this point in time till we fix the modalities of the scheme. What is your own estimation of what it could cost?
I don't know. They're talking about 10 crore families. I assume it's an insurance scheme. You can't cover them progressively. You'll have to cover all 10 crore on day one. You can't say only these families will fall ill in the first year and the other families won't fall ill in the first year. All 10 crore have to be covered. At current premium rates, to cover up to 5 lakh rupees per family, the premium will be 5,000 to 15,000 rupees per family at current premium rates.
Okay.
That means 50,000 to 1.5 lakh crore is the premium requirement. Take the midpoint. 1 lakh crore is the premium requirement. Now, I've heard numbers like 8,000 crore.
Yes.
I've heard a number 12,000 crore. I've heard an insurance company number 20,000 crore. I don't know which is true, but surely not having provided even 1 rupee and already breaching the fiscal deficit, where are they going to raise even 20, 25, 30,000 crore?
So they're saying that they will raise that from the cess, because the cess, the education and health cess, which has been hiked from 3% to 4%, gives them about 12,000 crores.
Listen, please.
That is the estimation at this point.
You have asked your question, wait for the answer, please. That cess is already taken on the revenue side and has been balanced on the expenditure side. It's over. And after revenue and expenditure have been set off against each other, the deficit is 3.5. So you can't count that cess once again to fund your new scheme.
Okay, so you're saying that there is an issue there and it could have implications on the fiscal deficit target that they've laid out for the year. Let me then ask you about some of the revenue raising measures, and let me talk about the long-term capital gains, because that seems to have at least soured sentiment. Whether it's temporary or the effect will last, we don't know, but that's soured sentiment on the large street. Now, you brought in the securities transaction tax. You believe that that was a neat, efficient way of taxing securities.
I still believe that.
So do you object to bringing in the long-term capital gains tax?
They are not inconsistent, you see.
Okay.
There is today a short-term capital gains tax.
Yeah.
There is a long-term capital gains for some asset classes. So in principle, there's nothing wrong in taxing long-term capital gains from one particular asset class, namely equity. But that's not the question. That's a wrong question to ask. The right question to ask is, given the kind of participation in the equity market, that tier 2 towns, tier 3 towns, rural areas don't yet participate. The large proportion comes from urban and metropolitan centers. To promote people to put their money for risk capital, given all that, given investments are at an all-time low, given the gross fixed capital formation is an all-time low of 27%, given that bank credit to industry is rising by 2.1%, the question to be asked is this the right year and the right moment to introduce LTCG?
The government's argument is that yes, it is. It was a tough call. There's been a lot of deliberation, but we feel that given where the markets are today, this is the right time to bring in, as to quote the Finance Minister, a modest rate of tax at this point in time.
I think they are still confused. I think it's going to undergo amendments. They've already hinted at one amendment this morning, that it will be indexed.
Yes.
Another amendment is being hinted at. The rate will be reduced to 7.5%. You see, this government leaps first and then looks. Before you introduce LTCG, you should have thought through the entire process. I have no objection to LTCG in respect of any asset class, but I would have serious doubts whether the last year of a government where economic growth has not picked up yet, where investments have not picked up yet, where bank credit to industry has not picked up yet, is this the right year to introduce LTCG? I think it is a debatable point.
Okay, you think that it's a debatable point. Let me then ask you about something which hasn't perhaps gotten noticed, and I think there is split opinion on that even within industry, and that is the government's decision to hike customs duty across the board. I mean, on 50 items we've seen customs duty being hiked. Mobile phones and TVs made it to the finance minister's speech, but there's a bunch of items outside of that as well. Ostensibly to promote manufacturing in India, to promote Make in India. As I said, industry split on the issue. Some saying, well, so be it. You know, why shouldn't domestic industry being given some protection and a leg up? Do you believe that this will help Make in India?
I think this is the fallout of embracing Trump too often. Please understand, only a week ago in Davos, the Prime Minister said, we believe in free trade, we believe in open economy, we believe in a competitive economy. Since 1991, when I was first Commerce Minister, the trajectory that successive governments have followed is to cut customs duties. You want to become part of this trade agreement, that bilateral trade agreement, EFTA, ASEAN, etc., etc. And then you go in reverse direction and increase customs duties across the board. If a particular industry for a particular period deserves protection for some reason, yes, I can understand. There is headroom, even under WTO. There is headroom to raise your taxes. There is anti-dumping duty. There is safeguard duty. There is now even an anti-circumvention duty. But if you raise customs duties across the board, let's not get into the argument whether that's good or bad. Let's understand that is protectionist, isn't it? That is protectionist.
No, he admitted that.
But then what did you say in Davos a week ago? So please tell us what your policy is. Are you wanting to be protectionist, or you want to expose Indian industry to competition? Specific cases I can understand, but across the board increase is protectionist.
Okay, so you're saying that the contradictory signals are being sent out on trade. Let me then ask you about GST and the indirect tax collections. They're assuming about 17% plus on indirect tax. And they point out that that is in fact conservative. They hope that the GST is going to be able to deliver significantly better results, especially as and when the e-label comes into effect, which has now been deferred. We don't know the new timeline.
I think it has been deferred for the 4th time or 5th time.
Well, yes, there has been a deferral and there is no timeline on when it will now come in. What's your own take on GST? Also the inclusion, because now the Congress has been demanding the inclusion of real estate as well as petroleum in the GST. Do you believe that that is now going to have to be prioritized given where crude prices are headed?
It should have been done on day one. Well, they didn't persuade the state governments, that's what they say. You see, according to the budget documents, GST collection is expected to jump 67% next year. Now they have accounted for GST in this year
for 11 months.
Well, I don't know where you get this 11 months. GST was introduced only on 1st of July. From 1st of July, how is it 11 months even at the end of March? It's only 9 months. And all of you have accepted this statement that they make 11 months and 11 months. GST was introduced on the 1st of July, unless my arithmetic is wrong. Anyway, they got service tax and excise duty for the 3 months. And that was without any impediment. This GST collection is expected to jump from 4,44,000 crore to 7,43,000 crore, which is a 67% jump. It may well happen because 9-month collection versus 12-month collection, it may well happen. But I think the more prudent course is to bring 2 very large left-out sectors. Construction, petroleum into GST. And I think you should do it this year so that you complete the exercise and then we'll see what GST brings you.
Okay, so you believe that they may still be able to do that number that they've projected in the budget. I want to now link our conversation around the budget to the other event that that we sort of had to take note of on the 1st of February, which was the election result coming in from the state of Rajasthan. What has worked in the Congress's favor?
So I think Congress was able to put its house in order in Rajasthan. We got our building blocks in place. We tend to neglect the block Congress committee. I think this time we made sure that the block Congress committees were in place, were active, and were out in the field. And I think the block Congress committees also worked quickly to set up the booth committees. We also had a set of leaders who were pulling together. It was a by-election, a very crucial by-election, which we had lost by huge margins only 4 years ago. I think our leaders pulled together. And I think they capitalized on the very, very deep disenchantment with the Modi government. There's no other way to explain how a deficit of 2,26,000 votes can become a margin plus of 1,90,000 votes. That's a huge swing. I've seen such swings happen only when there is a wave. In a by-election, obviously there is no wave. But if in a by-election in Rajasthan, in 3 constituencies, geographically distributed over Rajasthan, if there is such a massive swing, and Rajasthan is largely rural and quite poor, it means that rural India, the poor, cutting across caste, cutting across religion, are very, very disenchanted with the Modi government. This is a Lok Sabha election, remember that.
To take that point forward, is there enough in the budget to alleviate the short-term pain? Because, you know, the mechanism for the MSP or the viability gap fund that they may arrive at, that's still at least 3 to 6 months away. And that is our understanding after our conversations with both the government as well as the Niti Aayog. So in the interim then, you know, is there enough to, in this by way of you know, the social sector schemes, etc., to alleviate the pain in the rural economy?
There's nothing. You see, the next MSP will be effective only after the next Kharif. And the next Kharif is September, October. There's nothing between now and September, October. The Rabi is over. Therefore, there's nothing for the farmer until the next Kharif season. And they have not even defined what their MSP is. When they say cost plus 50%, Dr. Swaminathan has raised pertinent questions. Which cost? Is it C1 plus FL or is it C2? They have not defined that either. And when they claim that, we have already given cost plus 50% for some crops, the question is, which crops have you given? And you're going to give it to the remaining crops, which crops are you going to give to? If you've already given to some crops, why is there so much ferment in the farm sector? But I think these are just statements that they throw away in the budget speech and elsewhere, and they are not able to answer hard questions put not by opposition politicians, but by people in the field.
Well,
Dr. Ashok Gulati has raised questions. Dr. Swaminathan has raised questions.
And they haven't yet worked out the modalities, as I pointed out in my question itself. It's still a matter under discussion and deliberation. It should take about 3 months, is what we're given to understand. But, you know, what is this likely to do to inflation? Because inflation has been one of the big sort of cushions for the government. They're still hoping that they will be able to stay within the 4% range that the Reserve Bank and the MPC have put forward. But do you believe that because of crude and what may happen on MSP, which could then push up food inflation, that there could be an inflation challenge?
See, I don't believe there is a trade-off between MSP and inflation. That is the wrong premise in which this government denied fair MSP in the first 3 years and is paying a price. I think the best signal to a farmer is price, and we must signal a remunerative price to the farmer. If that causes some inflation, there are other tools to contain that inflation. You can't put the burden of containing inflation on the farmer and impoverishing the farmer. The last print of CPI in December 2017 was 5.1. If crude oil prices rise, that is inflationary. Your fiscal deficit will make it inflationary. If interest rates rise, that is inflationary. If your current account deficit widens, that is inflationary. There are a number of factors that can push inflation. So we'll have to see how the RBI responds.
Do you believe that the RBI now has, the MPC, to be fair, has room now for, forget monetary easing, but, to just hold rates?
I would be surprised if they don't raise the rates. And that would be unfortunate.
Are you seeing that in the next policy, or you're saying somewhere
down the line? Down the line. Whether they do it next policy or down the line. That is, a signaling will happen in the next policy, and maybe the increase in rates will happen in the policy thereafter. I have been an ardent advocate of cutting rates. RBI was behind the curve. They did not cut the rate when they should have cut. Now I don't think even the government will ask the RBI to cut the rates. They will be rudely turned down. I think the government can only plead with the RBI, don't raise the rates.
Let me end then by asking you, sir, what is it that you intend to raise in Parliament? The budget discussion will start. What are the issues specifically that you will raise with the government?
Well, I'll first ask the government, why are you still in denial? Why do you deny that there is no private investment? Why do you deny that GFCF is at its lowest point of 27%? Why do you deny that credit to industry is growing at 2.1%? Why do you deny that there is rampant joblessness? Why do you deny there is acute farm distress? When will you get out of denial? That's the first question that I will ask.
Okay, that's the first question you'll ask, but if I may end then by asking you on the jobs issue, because, and you keep quoting Arvind Subramaniam, so let me then put forward to you.
Well, I think Arvind Subramaniam is one guy in this government who speaks truth
to power.
To power.
Which is the title of your book as well. So then let me quote to you what Arvind Subramaniam says in the economic survey. And he does seem to corroborate the Ghosh and Ghosh.
Oh, he doesn't?
He does.
I'm sorry.
He talks about the formalization.
Sorry,
he says
please.
that, he says the formal sector job creation is hitherto, is much better than hitherto is estimated.
Wait a minute. I have read that more than once. Go back and read it. The box on that page is a right-hand page. There is a box. He skirts the Ghosh report, does not comment on the Ghosh report at all. He skirts the Ghosh report. The person who endorsed the Ghosh report, and that I'm so sorry, government has no official source to endorse, it endorses the Ghosh's report, was the Finance Minister. The Ghoshes themselves, after Jairam Ramesh and Praveen Chakravarti punctured the report, and after my column, neither of the two Ghoshes are willing to comment publicly. We've asked them to release the data to which they've got privileged access. They don't.
But the survey does talk about the fact that the number is better than was earlier estimated.
Well, that's neither here nor there. The fact is that a new EPFO registration does not mean a new job. Ask any EPFO inspector, he will tell you that. There are a number of reasons why a registration takes place, a number of reasons why a deregistration takes place. A new EPFO registration is not a new job. That's why we say release the entire series, go back and do the homework for the UPA period and the NDA period. If what you are saying 70 lakh jobs have been created or will be created in 2017-18, when we are growing at 6%, over a crore of jobs should have been created in the boom years of 2005 to 2008. So go and release the data also. If all that is accumulated, we'll have no joblessness in this country.
If I can get one final question in from you. And, this is the feedback that's coming in, that while it is the job of the opposition to raise questions about government policy and to hold the government accountable, it is also the job now of the opposition, as it heads towards elections in crucial states as well as towards the general election, to present an alternative.
Of course.
What is the alternative the Congress party now intends to put forward, especially on economic issues?
We will. We will, in the run-up to the election, we will, like every other party, come out with a manifesto, and the manifesto will spell out our approach to the economy. But it is, I think, even if I say it, it's fair to conclude we were better managers of the economy in more difficult times. We managed the economy when crude oil prices on July 11, 2008 touched $147 a barrel. We managed the economy in 2008 when the worst international financial crisis hit this country. We managed the economy in 2011 when the European financial crisis hit the world. So we are much better managers of the economy, is I think something which you will encounter if you walk through an airport terminal or a railway station. People will come and talk to you about it. We were much better managers. As I said, even if I say it, I think the general consensus is we were much better managers.
I won't get into the general consensus and debate with you on that, sir. But
well, ask the Rajasthan voter.
No, but let me end by asking you then, and you just articulated for me why you believe you were better managers if the economy, and there's a different argument which I don't want to get into. But you know, you talked about the government getting out of denial on economic issues. What have been the key lessons learned, especially from UPA2, the mistakes when it comes to the economy that you would not like to repeat?
The mistakes we made?
Yes.
Of course. I would not allow the fiscal deficit to go out of control. And I've said it publicly. Maybe it was inevitable when the government followed the textbook prescription of increasing public spending. But I would have held back on public spending, settled for lower growths, and not allowed the fiscal deficit to go up to, I think it was 5.8 or something. Once the fiscal deficit hit 5.8, I think other things went out of control too. The current account deficit went out of control, inflation went out of control. So I think there are times when you must settle for lower growth, but ensure macroeconomic stability. Look what China is doing. China doesn't want to boast it's the fastest growing economy in the world. We are simply enamored by these boasts. Why should we be the fastest growing economy in the world? Why can't we settle for being the second fastest growing economy or the third fastest growing economy? We should settle for lower growth if that will affect macroeconomic stability. This government did not learn that lesson.
But you've been after them saying that you brought down growth, so now you're saying that you should settle for lower growth.
I have always said macroeconomic stability is the primary consideration. Given macroeconomic stability, you must push for growth.
Does Rahul Gandhi agree with your point of view?
Well, he is the boss. I have to agree with him. He has not disagreed with me so far.
But does he buy into the fact that macroeconomic stability must be given priority over fiscal profligacy?
Well, the moment you call it fiscal profligacy, it has to be rejected.
Well, that was what the biggest problem that the UPA faced.
2008, not only the Indian government, world over, everybody followed the textbook Keynesian model of spending your way out of low growth. Therefore, don't blame the government of India alone. Every country did that. It was the textbook said so. So you followed the textbook. As a result of following the textbook, you breached prudent fiscal deficit limits. When I came back in 2012, I acknowledged it. I said, yes, we followed the textbook, but I think it's time to pull back. Now, this government should have learnt its lesson from that. This government has, I think, compromised severely with macroeconomic stability in this budget.
Well, Mr. Chidambaram, we'll have to leave it there. Appreciate your time. Thanks very much for speaking to us here on CNBC TV18. With that, it is time for us to wrap up the CNBC TV18 special from all of us here. Goodbye, and many thanks for watching.